Hi there and welcome to our podcast. And this week at London Visited we go to the Embankment to tell you all about this iconic part of London. My name's Steve and each week I'll bring to you the facts, history and information about different parts of this great capital. If you've been to London, are planning on visiting, live here or just love London from afar, then this is the podcast for you. Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel London Visited to see videos covering this place and so many others across London. And now to this week's podcast. The Thames Embankment is a work of 19th century civil engineering that reclaimed marshy land next to the River Thames in central London. It consists of both the Victoria Embankment and Chelsea Embankment. There has been a long history of failed proposals to embank the Thames in central London. Embankments along the Thames were first proposed by Christopher Wren in the 1660s. Then, in 1824, former soldier and aide to George IV, Sir Frederick Trench, suggested an embankment known as Trench's Terrace from Blackfriars to Charing Cross. Trench brought a bill to Parliament which was blocked by river interests. In the 1830s, the painter John Martin promoted a version, as realised later, to contain an intercepting sewer. In January 1842, the City Corporation backed a plan designed by James Walker, but was dropped due to government infighting. The government itself built the Chelsea Embankment in 1854 from Chelsea Hospital to Millbank. Started in 1862, the Victoria Embankment starting from Millbank on the Main, North or Left Bank, was primarily designed by Sir Joseph Bazalgette, with architectural work on the embankment wall and river stairs by Charles Henry Driver. It incorporates the main low-level interceptor sewer, from the then limits of the West London's growth, and an underground railway over which the wide road and riverside walkway were built and run today, shored up by a steady retaining wall along the tidal River Thames. In total, Bazalgette's system reclaimed 22 acres of land from the river. It prevented flooding, such as around what had been remnants of Thorney Island, much of which was owned by the Duke of Westminster. Those waterfront hotels, supply warehouses and genteel townhouses which had boat access by inlets and water gates lost this. Much of the granite used in the projects was bought from Cornwall. The quarried stone was shaped into blocks on sites before being loaded onto barges and transported up the English Channel into the Thames. From Battersea Bridge in the west, it includes Chain Walk, Chelsea Embankment, Grosvenor Road, Millbank and Victoria Tower Gardens. Beyond the Houses of Parliament, it is named Victoria Embankment, as it stretches to Blackfriars Bridge. This stretch incorporates part of the shared District Circle Line, bi-directional tunnel of the London Underground, and passes Shell Mex House and the Savoy Hotel. It likewise incorporates gardens and open space, here at their greatest and collectively known as the Embankment Gardens, which provide a peaceful oasis in the heart of central London. The gardens include many statues, including a memorial with a bust of Bazalgette. The smaller and shorter Albert Embankment is on the south side of the river, opposite the Millbank section of the Thames Embankment. It was created by Bazalgette for the Metropolitan Board of Works and built by William Webster between July 1866 and November 1869. Some parts of the embankment were rebuilt in the 20th century due to wartime bomb damage or natural disasters, such as the 1928 Thames flood. The Thames and Albert Embankments are but a fraction of 200 miles of walls that prevent the Thames from flooding adjoining lands, and which were began in the Middle Ages. Victoria Embankment is part of the Thames Embankment, a road and river walk along the north bank of the River Thames in London. It runs from the Palace of Westminster to Blackfriars Bridge in the City of London. As well as being a major thoroughfare for road traffic between the City of Westminster and the City of London, it is noted for several memorials, such as the Battle of Britain Monument, permanently berthed retired vessels such as HMS President, and public gardens including the Victoria Embankment Gardens. The Victoria Embankment was designed by civil engineer Francis Webb Shields, who submitted designs to the Royal Commission, appointed in 1861. Following acceptance of the designs, construction was carried out by the Metropolitan Board of Works on the lines of his scheme. Construction started in 1865 and was completed in 1870. The Victoria Embankment was one element of a three-part work, the other two parts being the Albert Embankment, from Lambeth End of Westminster Bridge to Vauxhall, and the Chelsea Embankment, extending from Millbank to Cardigan Pier at Chelsea, close by Battersea Bridge. It was a project of the Metropolitan Board of Works. The original impetus was the need to provide London with a modern sewage system. Another major consideration was the relief of congestion on the Strand and Fleet Street. The project involved building out onto the foreshore of the River Thames, narrowing the river. The construction work required the purchase and demolition of much of the expensive riverside property. The cut-and-cover tunnel for the District Railway was built within the embankment and designed to open at ebb tide to release diluted sewage when rainstorms flooded the system, but were built into it as a means of preventing backups in the drainage system and of periodically flushing the mud banks. At ground level, in addition to new roads, 2 public gardens were laid out. One of those backs onto the government buildings of Whitehall, and the other stretches from Hungerford Bridge to Waterloo Bridge. The gardens contain many statues. The section of the gardens between Waterloo Bridge and Charing Cross Station also include a large bandstand, where musical performances are given, and the 1626 Watergate of the former York House, built for the first Duke of Buckingham. The Victoria section was the most complex of the 3 sections. It was much larger, more complex, and more significant to the metropolis than the other 2, and officially opened on the 13th of July 1870 by the Prince of Wales and Princess Louise. When people refer to the embankment, they are usually referring to that portion of it. The total cost of construction of the Victoria Embankment is established to be £1,260,000, and the purchase of property at £450,000. The total cost includes the cost of materials used for the construction of the embankment. Construction of the Victoria Embankment proved to be difficult because of the grandness of it. Parliament was assured that 3 years would be ample time to complete the project, which did not hold true. In addition to not having a large enough labour force to complete the work on schedule, the project's architect and property appraiser were challenged in successfully securing rights to all the wharves and other property that were required for access and storage during the project's construction. They also ran into difficulty in acquiring contracts to maintain access to the steamboat landings at Westminster and Hungerford. In addition, extra time and money was spent experimenting with a new type of cofferdam, a structure used to keep water out of the construction site, which was crucial for building along the tidal Thames. In December 1878, Victoria Embankment became the first street in Britain to be permanently lit by electricity. The light was provided by 20 Yoblukovich candles, powered by a Graham DC generator. 16th of March 1879, the system was extended to 40 lamps, and 10th of October to 55 lamps. Previously, the street had been lit by gas, and in June 1884, gas lighting was re-established as electricity was not competitive. London Transport Underground stations along Victoria Embankment are Embankment and Temple. London River Services boat services operate between Westminster Millennium Pier, Embankment Pier and Blackfriars Millennium Pier at points along the Victoria Embankment. Pleasure cruises also operate from Savoy Pier. London's East-West Cycle Superhighway 3, a curb-protected cycle track across London, runs along most of the Victoria Embankment, which opened in 2016. The embankments were designed as a contribution to the appropriate and appropriately civilised cityscape for a prosperous commercial society. John Thwaites, the chair of the Metropolitan Board of Works, made note that the embankments were an important step in making London recognised as an exemplary imperial city, and that the embankments were the greatest public work to be taken in London. This imperial power was represented in the embankment's grandeur and could be seen in the way that they controlled nature, linking the local experience of nature in London to the global rivalries of imperial powers. On the riverside, new steamboat piers and landing stairs were designed for river access. Above ground were tree-lined roadway and pedestrian walkways, surfaced with York paving stone and distinctive gaslight posts for the top of the wall. Ships permanently moored by Victoria Embankment include HMS President, HQS Wellington and PS Tattersall Castle. Other notable attractions include the General Charles Gordon Memorial, the Royal Air Force Memorial, National Submarine War Memorial, Battle of Britain Monument, Cleopatra's Needle and the modernistic Cleopatra's Kiosk. Chelsea Embankment is part of the Thames Embankment, a road and walkway along the north bank of the River Thames in central London. The western end of Chelsea Embankment, including a stretch of Cheyne Walk, is in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. The eastern end, including Grosvenor Road and Millbank, is in the city of Westminster. Beneath the road lays the main low-level interceptor sewer, taking water waste from West London eastwards towards Beckton. Sloane Square is the closest tube station located to the north. This embankment was completed and was part of the Metropolitan Board of Works' grand scheme to provide London with a modern sewerage system, and it was opened on the 9th of May 1874 by Prince Alfred, Duke of Edinburgh. So, I hope you've enjoyed our look at the embankment in London and its history behind it. Whatever podcast service you use to listen to this, please do subscribe to get updates on new shows, and also please leave us some feedback. Please also let me know any places you'd like us to feature in future podcasts, and you can let me know through our website www.londonvisited.co.uk, by emailing me directly on londonvisited@gmail.com, or contacting us on Twitter and Instagram on @LondonVisited, or Facebook on at The London Visited. Thanks for listening, and really hope you enjoyed our podcast, and we'll see you soon in the next one. Bye.